did you know last year in 2024, Starbucks CEO Bryan Niccol earned 6,666 times what the average barista at the company made. He made $98 million, while the average barista there made around $15,000. What's even crazier than that to me, though, is that the bottom 50% of American households only own 2.5% of the wealth in the nation, and the top 10% of wealth in America owns over 67%, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, who is a very reputable institution when it comes to economic data collection. I'm not saying that socialism is the answer. In fact, it's definitely not. But I am saying that if a barista needs to pass a drug test in order to hand people coffee, I don't think it's that far of a stretch to require CEOs, especially CEOs in very powerful positions, to pass very stringent psychological evaluations, because these people have a ton of power and they can do a lot of stuff with that money. So to start this video, I think it's important that we define greed. But first, I'm going to show you guys something really cool. It's okay. I'm babysitting my coworker's puppy. His name's Milwaukee. He's a little wiener dog, and he's the cutest little shit ever. But yeah, I wanted him to make an appearance so she could watch this and laugh later. Anyways, it's time to go back. So if you hear some whining, it's probably because he's in the background. All right, let's define greed really quick. Greed is a strong, selfish desire to have more of something than you need, whether it's wealth, possessions, power, or even food. It's an insatiable craving, often described as excessiveness, that leads to constant dissatisfaction and can drive individuals to exploit others or engage in unethical behavior to gain more. It's not ambition. It's clearly taking advantage of others for their own benefit. And it's not just the Starbucks CEO. It's actually like across the board this is happening. So S&P 500 CEOs, so like 500 of them, make on average 285 times more than their average employee, with the median US CEO making nearly $17 million a year. And what's even crazier than that is at low-wage firms, the gap is literally 632 times the average employee. There are some interesting studies out there that suggest that 4 to 12% of corporate leaders show psychopathic traits, and narcissistic traits is even higher. The estimate is between 5 to 20%. Both of these averages are way higher than the general population, and I think it's worth having a discussion about whether or not these people should be psychologically evaluated before they're put in a position of power, and it needs to be done in like a really stringent way. And this is kind of hard for me because I do believe in capitalism, obviously, and like I do believe that not everyone can do the job of a CEO. But these price gaps are pretty concerning, and in my opinion, they could be one of the leading causes of why corporate greed is destroying America. The first one is the housing market is an absolute joke. I work in real estate. For people that don't know, my actual job is I am a content creator for the #1 builder here in Charleston, South Carolina. That is literally my job. All I do is study and write videos and produce content about real estate here in Charleston, one of the biggest metros, most popular metros people are moving to right now. The average age for a first-time home buyer in the United States right now is 38, which is nearly a decade older than in 1980. So in order to afford a house today, you need around $120,000 a year salary just to afford a regular home. And back in 2021, the average was around $79,000. So it's literally gone up $40,000 in 4 years. I do think that there could actually be a pretty big crash in 2027 or 2028. I will leave a link to the video that I watched in the video description from the infographic show. I really liked it and I thought it was pretty interesting, so check it out. But in my opinion, one of the most detrimental things that happened to Americans was corporate firms being allowed to invest in real estate, because what they were able to do was outcompete the average family, and they're able to flip these homes for way more money, leaving a lot of middle-class Americans homeless and millennials homeless. And that is by far one of the biggest reasons corporate greed is destroying America. The second reason that I believe corporate greed is destroying America, this one is far more, and this one is far worse in my opinion. It's because millennials aren't having children. And the main reason millennials aren't having children is because it's too goddamn expensive. For a lot of millennials, if they want to have a child right now, they have to literally choose between poverty and offsetting all of their goals, or just not having children at all. And it's actually pretty sad, because the majority of the millennials I've talked to about this We want children. Like, we want to have kids. But the biggest issue is that we want to make sure that we're in a place where we're stable enough to have children. And for like some really basic things when it comes to that is like a decent savings so that you can actually pay for the baby when it's actually delivered, because that's expensive, even with insurance. But also having a home to come to and a stable job and things like that. And wages haven't kept up with even like basic inflation. And like a big part of it, I think, is having a house. Like if we were able to have a house and not be surrounded by a bunch of random people, or even like a townhome, that would really, I think, help birth rates for millennials and help impact and like strengthen the middle class, because family is by far the most important thing. The middle class is the backbone of this country, and family is the heart of it. And I really do believe that that is slowly changing and getting lost because of corporate greed. Americans in their 20s and 30s right now are having an average of only 1.8 children. The US fertility rate hit the lowest I think it's ever been in 2023. A study by NerdWallet said that of millennials that already have children, only 30% of them would consider having another one, and that 56% of current adults right now aren't going to have kids because of how expensive it is. And that is like incredibly detrimental to our country as a whole. I think a lot of boomers like to frame this as like, oh, it's just a cultural thing, or it's just like they're lazy, they like avocado toast or whatever. But I don't think that at all. I think it's a survival response to prohibitive costs. Like I said before, it's not that millennials don't want kids. We just want to ensure that we can support them in the right way. And something that does bother me is that I've heard boomers be like, oh, well, just do it. It all works out. And like, that's great for you guys. It did. But it doesn't look like it's going to be happening like that way for us. And you can't just like do that on a whim when the costs of everything are skyrocketing. And then on top of that, there's like a possible pending crash that could happen. It's just, it doesn't seem like a good time to do it. And I really do think a big part of that is because of wages, and because people at the top of these companies are taking too much money from the middle. And another thing that's been really frustrating, I think, for a lot of millennials is like, yeah, a lot of us went to college and we have debt from that. And there's other factors too, and I get that. But another thing is that like we are smarter than the boomer generation, and it is like so frustrating. And it is so frustrating when it's like this person that makes double or triple your salary can't even convert like a Word doc to a PDF, and you're sitting there like, what the fuck? Like, really? I'm not religious. I've said this before in previous videos, but I did have an interesting thought about it, especially for any religious leaders who are in power positions. But if you believe that a higher power of some form put you in a position of power, do you think that they did it so that you could have all the wealth you want? Or do you think that they did it to help better and improve the lives of the people around you and help lift them up too, to help support their goals? And eventually, when you do meet this higher power, how do you think the conversation is going to go when they see that you took advantage of all of these people instead of helping them? It's kind of an interesting thought. To end this video, I just want to say I grew up about 30 miles south of Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And for some of you that don't know, that is one of the richest like districts or counties in the country. For the past 10 years, the billionaires, the saying there has been that the billionaires are pushing out the millionaires. And it's not a joke. Because of the lines from the national parks and stuff, there's only so much land. I actually sold art and furniture in a really beautiful store there for quite a few years. Like, I've actually sold art to Tyler Perry, which is pretty sick. But we did, like, the biggest transaction we ever did was $275,000 for art and furniture in these houses. And I want to make a video on that and like overall, like how more money doesn't necessarily mean more happiness. And that's why I find it really concerning that these CEOs are pulling $90 million, like $17 million to $98 million a year. Just really without wanting to like give, they obviously have the capacity to give that money to people in the company and strengthen the middle class, but they're not. And I just really think it does kind of make you think, like, are these people psychologically sound to be in the positions that they are? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Millennials, please let us know, like, if you were in a better position financially, would you have children? Because from a lot of the conversations I've had with people, it seems like that would happen. And that could be a really huge step to fixing some of the issues I see with this country. But ultimately, I am a huge believer that the middle class is the backbone of this country and family is the literal heart. And I do think it's dying, and I really think we need to take that seriously because it is serious. I also want to say I have quite a few people that haven't subscribed yet, so please consider giving this video a like and a subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.